a little more about your own brand. What does brand weaver mean? Where did it come from? How long did it take for you to, for that specific wording to work for you? And you know, how long did it take for your logo to come out and all?
Sure. Okay. Well, I did some work a couple of years ago as part of an opportunity to be involved with one of my client's projects. And he has this wonderful product called The Game, Experience the Game, and he had an invitation to actually design an image which would be used as a card as part of this, as a sponsored card, as part of a kind of very much a game that facilitates relationship and connection with people. And so I had an opportunity right then to immediately jump into this archetype which has been in my mind for a long time, which I call the brand weaver, or really you could also say the visionary leader. And so the image I had at the moment was kind of an American Indian shaman type image who was standing and reaching into the heavens at twilight, and with a kind of Native American desert image. I live here in Utah, where the desert's very iconic, and it's always been a place for me of deep stillness, emptiness, and inspiration because of that. In fact, because of it's just so still and empty. And so I would say that the kind of the installation of that vision was that of this brand weaver archetype, this shaman who really goes and seeks deep vision, goes alone and does what you need to do in order to really make a genuinely great insight. And I think that crosses over very well in terms of what I like to call a quantum leap insights, basically in the kind of service that I bring to branding, which is to go and really find a way to get so far beyond how things have ever been thought in terms of this particular project, that they can be expressed in an entirely new way, that still at the same time will link and bridge what people know to what people can know. So it's that kind of bridging process. And so that basically has been like the vision I've had from the very beginning. And brand weaver is also weaver being the storyteller, the mythological, the mythology maker, so to speak. So when you discover that core essence, that core brand, then how is that woven into each piece of the expression of a business? And so to me, it's extremely core that the name fits so appropriately to the whole idea of what I called before the religious piece, or you could also call the mythological piece, and bringing that into a business. And so it all kind of came together relatively quickly. But the logo itself has a very modern feel to it, almost 21st century plus in terms of the typography, but that's also contrasted with this very ancient appearance of the desert and stillness and darkness. So I really like to blend the art of basic classical shamanistic approach to deep vision seeking with 21st century technology and 21st century visionary, where things are going, basically. So that's kind of how I like to piece it together.
Wonderful. Well, we have a whole bunch of questions from Jonathan in the chat room. First, for those people who are just joining us, we're speaking with Chris Stacer of Brand Weaver. If people want to check out your website, where can they go?
This is brandweaver.tv, like television.
Great. So we were discussing earlier a little bit about how you reach your clients or how you find your clients. So John just was wondering how you go about doing that. Just to touch briefly on what we were talking about earlier is the law of attraction, and really by setting the clear intention, Chris is able to find the right clients. And of course through a lot of networking, as business is often done. But I'd love to, Jonathan also asks in the chat room how you raised your initial capital for your project, and how did you fund the creation of BrandWeaver?
Sure. Okay, well, just to elaborate a little bit more, I find personal contact, personal networking situations to be absolutely the best way to market, at least my business. And so I kind of personally think that whatever you do in the social networking world, which is becoming very trendy now, it's still the seeds that you actually plant through physically being present and physically being able to meet with people and connect with them on a one-to-one basis. Really, it facilitates that extra electronic connection to a whole other degree. In terms of the actual funding of my business, really I was lucky in that because I have enough design skills and enough of the basic business skills that I simply did it on my own with a little bit of jumping out of a security blanket of a job, and through that, and which was actually an intention, that's how I actually discovered a social network called CEO Space, an actual business network. But I discovered that as part of an intention to make the leap. So I made it with a little bit of less security than in terms of like savings and such than some people might feel comfortable with. But I just did it and used that to create urgency to go forward. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs are really wonderful at doing, is taking great risks, especially financially. And every time you take a great risk and you fail, you never fail to do another great risk and perhaps fail. But that's part of being an entrepreneur. And I think the piece about being a social entrepreneur is very interesting, that kind of along the religious side that you were talking about before, of how social entrepreneurs are really kind of taking this role as more of a religious organization where they're trying to pull out truth and create happiness for individuals.